Good morning.
Hello, guys. Oh my God, so nice to see you.
So nice to meet you. How's everything going for you?
Well, it's been a lot, hasn't it? It's been a lot. We're only a couple of weeks in, and I don't know how much more drama we can fit in.
Do you know what? It actually feels like you're much further in considering how hot it's getting in that space.
I feel ya. I feel ya.
Yeah, it's rough. So if you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm honestly like baffled by the whole thing. Like, I knew it was going to be crazy. I'd heard little whispers, but something just feels so crazy about this series. I don't know. Even like the intruders last night and stuff. I don't know. I thought that was some really awkward wedding between, is it JJ and Bianca? Like,
Yeah.
my mum and I watched it together, and I don't know why the vibe was just so, I don't know. It
Oh,
was, yeah.
Yeah, it was cold, I think, is probably. And it's hard, isn't it? Because I think there's something to be said for the fact that JJ he's also just being honest, like
Yeah, I
what
was
what do you want? What's better, to pretend, to put on some sort of pretense and facade and then maybe hurt someone more, or and the conversations that he's having with his friends and family, he is having them with his friends and family, right? He's not having them in front of Bianca.
yeah.
And I think that's what the viewer forgets, because we're watching it, we're like, well, that's so rude to Bianca. But it's important to note that actually Bianca wasn't there. He is just venting to someone because that's what he's feeling at the time.
Yeah,
But totally get the support for Bianca. I think it's looking really, there's a heavy focus on the looks, and I think she's a beautiful girl. Like, that's, I don't really understand it. But your type is your type.
I think it's interesting to highlight that what you've said there about the honesty thing. I really felt it when Nathaniel and Ella were on the sofa, and he's like, it's difficult. I don't want to upset you. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to hurt your feelings, but
Mhm.
how am I supposed to feel when this isn't what I wanted?
Absolutely. And I think that's probably why there's a lot of it's an emotional roller coaster for everyone watching it and for us living it, because we are so raw and we are very honest. And but within that, there's a lot of nuance as well that I think maybe people are not expecting. We've seen so many societal issues at play already in Maths 23, and it's like, I don't know how much more we can fit in, but it's a really interesting thing watching it back, because we only meet with the rest of the cast twice a week, as you guys know, so we don't see anything else that goes on in the week. So our opinions are changing, like, week on week, of people that we filmed with too.
yeah. I felt like this. So it's funny because, especially because I personally came in late. When I watched like the first 2 weeks of people, and I was like, some of these people are completely different than how I remember meeting them. It was crazy. But yeah, I think with
Spoongate is a great example of that, right? Spoongate got the whole nation talking. So all I'd seen, and I love, this isn't me coming for either side, by the way, I just want to preface it with that, but all I'd seen is me sitting at the dinner party and Terence introducing himself to everyone other than Portia. So naturally, as a girl's girl, I'm like, I don't like this. I'd also heard that he'd launched a spoon at her.
It's very interesting to watch our series and see things about couples that you just had no idea was going on. Like Keisha and Kwame's relationship, that was a complete secret. I didn't have a clue.
Really?
yeah.
Anything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They kept it very well hidden.
Mm,
Very.
The thing that I find really interesting, and I think you guys probably did as well, is that we talk about the edit at this point, right? We talk about the edit a lot. The edit's mentioned constantly, and so it should be, because it does, like I said, it does remove nuance from situations. You are only casting judgments based on what you see. So the edit is just kind of representing like everyday life. Do you know what I mean? Like, and a reminder as to why we shouldn't really cast aspersions, we shouldn't really cast judgments, because we are only making those judgments based on a small snapshot of what we're presented with.
Well, it's an hour of a 24.
Yeah.
at best.
At best. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Sometimes much.
yeah,
You've
I've
actually
been
got
so
60 people's 24 hours to have.
yeah. There's 16, like you said, there's 16 of us in at the minute. So, I mean, I was very vocal on socials about how all of my vows were edited, completely cut down.
Yeah.
And I posted them, I
Right.
clapped back and posted them because they were really, I think you saw them, Sophie, didn't you? And they were such beautiful parts of my vows were totally edited. And I get that. But what you were left with was me being a demanding bitch over my oat milk latte. Like
Yeah, I think the edit is, I think it's difficult because the problem becomes then that you are, people say it when it's not the case. Like people said so many times, people said it's the edit, and I'm like, no, that was you, that was you. I was there. I saw it.
Yeah, people.
So then it's you can't you don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
When,
it becomes the villain and the hero, doesn't it? Quite quickly for lots of people, depending on what side of the public reaction you are. And I totally get that, and I think also it just takes you to have one good episode, one good scene within an episode for the public to go, oh,
Yeah.
My Honeymoon is an excellent example of that.
Mine was the exact same, because I was going to talk to you about this, and we'll talk about your journey, because I feel like we had very similar starts, which was in the wedding episode. We both looked like stuck up bitches, which is what we were sort of made to look like, and it was sort of a bit characterized, and I had a similar thing. And then honestly, I had to wait over the weekend, but that Monday they showed the honeymoon, and everything did change, thank God, like the public, kind of saw me for who I was, and it just completely flipped. But it can, you're absolutely right, but within a second, I mean, you need only say one thing wrong or right, and it completely changes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's emotional whiplash is what I get from this quite a bit, but
okay, I feel like we're being very heavy as well. Are you enjoying this? Are you being able to find enjoyment from all of this? Because you know what, like, as much as everyone says, like, I only went on for love, I never went on for fame, we go on for an experience, and it's an exciting experience. And so I really hope that the cast are actually able to enjoy this time, because I think it is difficult at times to be able to enjoy it, but it's gone within a second.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. I am enjoying it. There were definitely aspects of this experience that I was not prepared for. Mainly, I think, to be honest, I kind of knuckled down during filming. I found filming very enjoyable. I found building relationships with people that I may not have the opportunity to meet really fascinating. I found watching other people's marriages unfold really interesting. The whole process, like you said, Adrian, it's over very quickly, and then there's this huge elapse of time where you're kind of like just going back to your daily life, doing what normal things you do, and then you're like hit right square in the face with, well, this is you now, like, here you are. And you're going to be talked about, you're going to be loved, hated, liked in equal measure, but don't let it get to you. Like, don't let it get to you. Okay, I'll remind myself of that while I'm crying into my pillow at night. No, I mean, that's I think, the weddings are the most extreme reaction that you will ever get, because especially when you go first, right, like, because there's no one else, and when you're up against such a beautiful wedding like Jay and Luke's,
Yeah, but they always pair it with well, and one go well.
And I got that, and I get it. This is the thing, like, I can understand from an editorial perspective. I understand all of that, but it doesn't make the feelings you feel at the time like any less real or hurtful. But you almost want to go, just wait, like, oh my God, Sophie, you probably like, just wait, like, just calm down, don't cuss me out, don't come for me, don't send me the death threats, like, just give it a second. And then, when it comes around, it's a nice breath of fresh air. But it always comes with a downside of you're watching someone else then get it, and you're like, oh, no, like, no, don't do that. But, I think, yes, I am enjoying it, but, you have to be very thick-skinned. You have to be a bit of a rhino, and not everyone can be that all the time. we're a very, I'm not saying I can't comment on your guys' cast, but we're actually very, very tight-knit cast, despite the fact that there may have been singular fallouts and things like that within us. Actually, collectively, we are very close. I get it. So a lot of people are really backing, like particularly mine and Shona's friendship. Now, I probably wouldn't have hit social media so hard had I not seen the rawness of what she's actually dealing with at the minute. And I think to be able to come out as someone that watched it, lived it, that wasn't in the relationship, I think it's actually quite powerful for people, because a lot of people are calling it out. A lot of people are quite rightly having strong opinions around some of the behaviour that they think Bradley's displaying. And I feel quite strong that we need to just keep supporting Shona, you know, because it's, yes, it was in the past for her, but the fact that it's now airing, it makes it very much her present.
Yeah.
It's
you're almost reliving. You know, people would say all the time, like, is it weird watching yourself on TV? And I would always say, it's not weird. It just feels like you're reliving a very vivid memory.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is like, we do need to, I think everyone's got a responsibility to approach these things on social media in the right way. So rather than calling the person out, just call the perceived behaviour out, because we actually, none of us have the credentials to be accusing of someone as being a full-blown narcissist. Like we actually don't, unless you're, you know, you are qualified, then you do you, but I don't. So I will not, like, even Luke and I and our fallout, you will have seen me in a Vox say it's a misogynistic view. That was misogynistic. I'm not calling Luke a misogynist. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Moment.
But that view and that opinion was misogynistic, in my opinion. And that is a really important message for everyone as we go further into this maths journey, because it does get more crazy, to remember, I think. You know?
I love this notion, Laura. I think you're fucking spot on. I just think you tried telling the general public that.
Oh, I know. I can't. What I've realised is that I can't win. Like, I'm crying on the sofa. I'm getting accused of having crocodile tears. I'm cold, and I'm a cold-hearted bitch. You know, like, I will not win. You know, people have really got behind me after the last commitment ceremony and said, you know, they're messaging me about their own experiences with grief and their own lived experiences of prejudice towards, like, inheritance and things like that, and you not working for it. And would you not think I'd give every single penny back of that? Like, and also to have my dad back, and also like, I've always worked. I'm always working now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so I think, it's a difficult one, and it's hard, because I felt like the first episode really did put me in a position where I had to do a lot of remedial work. Like, and I get that. And I've come out and said to everyone that sent me hate, I don't disagree with you. I hated me. I hated watching that. I watched it with my family, and they were sat there going, what? That's not who you are. That is not who you are. And I can't hide from the fact that I said those things. But the reason I said those things were because I talked about this in press recently, I had a huge amount of imposter syndrome after the hen. I felt boring. I felt not interesting enough. I felt really, like, quite bland physically. Like, you know, there's a stunning cast of girls, absolutely visually striking females this season. Like, everyone's got something. Everyone's got such a powerful backstory. Everyone's so beautiful and interesting to look at. And then I walk in and I'm like, right, what am I? So I think the posh narrative was quite quickly pushed, and they were like, talk about how you like a Chelsea boy. And the Chelsea boy thing, interestingly for me, comes from Dress Sense. And I did a fucking podcast on this recently where I'm like, it's the Chelsea dress. Like, I don't care. It's the accent. Like, I don't care about how much you earn. I'm not in the business to be going up to someone and saying, how much money have you got in your bank? I've just never been my MO. And I'm not judging for people, because there was a female that did say that on the cast this year. And that's also fine. As long as you are open with your potential partner as to what you're looking for, then everyone's got the option, haven't they? Everyone's got the choice whether that's for them or whether that's not for them. Do you see what I mean? Like, yeah. So yeah, I found that really difficult to watch back, but now, you know, I'm showing a bit more of a vulnerable side, and I've seen people going, oh, here come the crocodile tears, you know, it's a bit much that she's crying over this comment. And I'm like, but you don't know what other emotional baggage that's had for me, because a lot of it had to be edited down because to protect the people that were involved in something that happened to me. So, and I get that and I understand it, but when I'm reading those comments, I'm like, you can't be that you can't be that void of empathy that you think that me sat on the sofa on my own, by the way, and you guys will know how daunting those sofas are to sit on with your partner, let alone on your own, having just had quite a strong alpha male call me stuck up, like, what, you know, goldie, all of that sort of stuff, and then be hit with the honesty box when I'm sat there on my own, and then going into the commitment ceremony, I just felt, honestly, emotionally defeated. I felt, like I didn't, you know, you had all those like anxious feelings, you know, I felt like an elephant had its foot on my chest. And when I got up onto the sofa, I just started bawling. And I think you can see, anyone with an ounce of like critical thinking, I think, can see that although I present well, maybe in the sense that I articulate and I'm quite considered in what I say, I was just struggling. I was struggling at that point, and it was hard. I think you see Nathaniel and Ella literally stand up and embrace me because I was like this.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible. But what I've learned very quickly is that if I'm strong and independent and I approach situations, I'm called a stuck-up bitch and snobby and cold and detached. And then when I do expand upon some things and I'm emotional, I get accused of being fake. So it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, this is often the way for women in life, isn't it?
Really
You can't
interesting.
really get anything right, to be honest, can you?
No, and it's really funny as well. I don't want, because me and Luke are absolutely fine now. I think it's really important to note that we're really, really fine. It's very important to note that these perceived like resting bitch face that I've got and things like that, and the fact that I'm judging people based, and I not once have I judged anyone. Have you ever seen me vox up to this point where I'm calling anyone names? No. Luke called me a name, judged me, and every time I open my mouth to speak about anything, he pulled an awful face at me. He celebrated.
Yeah, it's like you said,
It's
Adrian,
interesting, right?
you can't win.
This series so far, it's quite heavy. Like, there's not too many laughs and giggles at the moment. I can't say I'm laughing all that much.
Yeah.
Would you, now we want no spoilers whatsoever, do we have some light moments coming? Have we had some funny times, some light entertainment?
Yeah, we do. We've got a funny cast. So Ella is hilarious, like so quick-witted. You're gonna get intimacy week as well, so I think that always brings a much more fun, flirty side to couples. Arthur's going to come back, so like, oh my god, he's come back. Arthur's going to come back, and listen, his particular sense of humor kills me off, like absolutely dead. And George is funny. Like, love him or hate him, he's funny. And him and Penny's dynamic is quite humorous at times. Paul and Tasha bring this lovely, like, wholesomeness to the table, which I think we all need. Interestingly, that was like, you know, Shona and Brad were seen as like quite, you know, love the golden couple, the fun couple. Obviously, we've kind of lost that in them now, but I think you're going to see it from a couple that you might not expect as well. I'm not going to say who it is, but there's going to be some fun and frolics. I think that's the best way of saying it. It alluded to it right at the end of the trailer for the one coming up on Monday, but yeah, I won't give anything away because it's not my place to say. But I think there's going to be going forward a much healthier balance. Thank God.
The dinner parties, just in general, though, like.
I mean, you know that.
Yes.
I will say though, I did always look forward to them. They were quite fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't relate. I always dreaded them.
Oh, that's a shame.
No, some of them, I think it depends how the week's gone, right? So it does depend how you've had a week within your marriage and also how you've interacted with the rest. I think, you know, the last dinner party that we've just seen was quite heavy because there was couples talking about other couples behind, you know, there was that three-way.
That was a little tricky,
That was interesting. We didn't have any.
That was new.
Yeah.
That was a new thing because I was like, when the trailer came through, I was like, what's this little get together they've got going on? Little drinking together.
It was very clear of them. Like, it's tricky, but it was bound to happen.
You could see why certain couples were there as well. Luke's very outspoken. Portia is I think they knew that Luke and Portia would tackle things from quite a different angle. George, I mean, literally says whatever goes through his mind at any given second. Spoiler alert, it's always sexual. So do you know what I mean? So I think it was good. I think also the viewer gets to see a bit more around like how a certain person looks at other people's couples as well, because it's away from the group of the dinner party where some people might be a bit more reserved. But if you're selecting couples and then taking them to the side and getting them to talk about it with the sole purpose of talking about it, I think you're probably going to unravel a bit more. Do you know what I mean? I think it's clever. It's good.
It is. It was great TV, but right.
Also, what we do in normal life, we would all talk about other partnerships with our friends, or if we're having couples night. Do you know what I mean? It's also representative of what you probably would do with your husband as well.
My worst thing with the dinner parties was always the location where my little name card was, because I was always sat. I was never sat near any friends.
And did you see that I was down the other end of the table from Shona and Brad?
Right.
Because if I'd heard him say, "Tell Shona to shut up." Oh.
Yeah. Did anyone else hear that at the time?
Shona doesn't think anyone did. Shona felt. I think Shona felt like she didn't perhaps have the backing that she wanted from. And I think there was a really interesting scene where she sat with the girls at the mixer, right? And they're talking about how she hasn't infiltrated the group because she's always with Bradley. I think Shona was quite sensitive to what people were saying about their relationship behind her back. So in Shona's defense, I don't think she felt like she could, do you know what I mean, make friends with people, because she struggled with the narrative of like what Brad and Shona were perceived by other people. But I think that maybe did a disservice to her, because I think any woman can relate to the fact that sometimes if you're in a relationship that might not be conducive to a healthy journey, sometimes you do feel isolated from your support system.
Yeah, and equally, you know, if you sort of speak out that you're laying that, you can't take that back, and then you're worried if you put that out there, people will be like, well, this is not good, you shouldn't be in it, and you don't want to hear that sometimes, especially if you think it's going well. But I sort of resonate with that, because I feel like people came at her a bit like, oh, you know, why do you care about what other people's opinions are? And obviously Brad said that as well. But in this scenario, of course you do. Like, you want people to, if you really like that person, in her case, you know, she was in love with him, you want other people to see that. And if they're not, you think something is wrong. It must really mess with your brain. Like with my relationship, people had opinions about it, but I really, really liked him. So I was like, why does everybody feel this way when I feel it's really conflicting, because you can't really be as honest as you like because you're having your own feelings. But I think it was a bit harsh to slate her, to kind of be like, a lot of people were like, oh, you know, why do you care what randomers think? But it's not like that. It's such an intense situation. You're like, why do people not believe us? Why do people not, you know, what are they seeing that I'm not?
Other people's opinions are one of the few things you have in that situation. You don't have a lot else going for you.
No.
You've got your marriage, but if said marriage is not going well and there's cracks forming and people are noticing, actually the best thing she did was concern herself with what other people were saying, because they were calling out the behaviour.
I think eventually you do, to be fair. And I think when it's a high pressurized situation like that, eventually like the opinions do break through, no matter how much you try and like, you know,
especially when you have to film them. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? We're there because we're emotionally intelligent and emotionally in tune individuals, because we need to be able to talk about those things. So
yeah. And that is a good part of the cast and selection, you know, that actually you get these individuals who can articulate their feelings and can speak them and show them in order to take the audience on a journey.
Absolutely. And I think actually, because I know Shona and Brad are it's generating such an interesting kind of topic of discussion, regardless of what anyone is saying now, I don't think at that wedding day one person would have thought that they weren't well matched.
I'm saying, like,
life would be a lot easier if we could live it in reverse, but we can't. So we have to, every feeling and emotion that we have in the moment is the right one, because that's how we felt. We can't dispute that. Guys, we need to talk about something more fun. But we should open our own panel of counselling, you know, like we really are dealing with the big hard-hitting topics right now.
We're therapizing, guys. We are therapizing.
We're in the wrong line of work.
How can we switch this up? All right, okay, so Arthur's gone. Who are you marrying instead?
Oh,
I love him.
Do you want pure honesty?
Like,
pure
always.
Undiluted honesty. Nathaniel.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Because, okay, why did you know I was going to say that?
Just because I've chatted to him.
Okay. There wasn't anything more deep there.
Well,
I was like, oh.
You just probably knew that because I knew that you were good friends.
I just had the conversation. I mean, great. Yeah, no, yeah. So I love Ella, and this is an example of how you don't need to take sides. Okay, so I love both of them individually. I just didn't like them as a couple. But I think Arthur and I have this really fun dynamic to our relationship. He brings out a very light-hearted side in me, which I love, and you will see much more of that when he's back from wherever he's been.
His little cave.
He wasn't allowed to film because he was ill, so yeah. And he was actually ill, guys. Like, there's no big conspiracy going on. I've seen a grave dug with a tennis racket as the tombstone doing the rounds. No, so he must have forgotten to make my own milk latte in the morning, and that's all I can assume. But no, so I think what I had quite a good dynamic with Nathaniel was also just a good like depth of discussion. I think, you know, we did spend quite a lot of time really having like DMCs, and yeah, so genuinely, if I had to pick another person other than Arthur, it would be Nathaniel. Also, he's beautiful. He's stunning.
He's beautiful. DMCs.
Deep, meaningful chats.
That is new to me.
Is it?
I've never heard anyone say a DMC in my life, but I'm here for it. Like, I love a DMC. I've never heard anyone say that, ever.
You're like the king of DMCs. How have you never heard of that?
Yeah, guys, love a DMC.
There you go. You've learned something, at least.
Absolutely.
Laura, what about our cast then? That was thrown out to you.
Who are you going to marry?
God, remind me.
Have me. I know that it would be tempting.
Oh yeah, no, I know. God, that would have been. Oh. Well, I can't answer then. No,
DMCs that we'd have had.
I don't. So I'm trying to think. So can you throw some names at me? I just need reminding.
Okay.
Duca, George, Jordan, Jonathan, Matt. Adrian, Zoe,
PJ.
Jay.
Okay, so
I'm sure was missing one. Richie.
Richie.
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know enough about every person, but
It ain't that DMC. Go for gold, babe. Just pick one.
I'd say, like, as the person that I'd probably easily be able to get on with on the surface would probably be Jordan, I guess. I know.
Human.
But I'm also saying that's not based on anything other than just chat. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't think, if you're going to rewind it back to what like my old school type was, there's also no one in like your cast that would have, like, you know, like the boring Chelsea thing. Just great.
Everyone's so diverse. Like, I wouldn't even know. Like, people ask me that question, but it's so hard to like pin it down because literally, like,
you don't know them.
Yeah, exactly. It's what's your normal type? What is your fuck the Chelsea boy thing? But like,
so genuinely, the Chelsea boy thing was just coined. Okay,
Yeah.
so it had to be. The reason that is talked about and featured is because they had to kind of be able to make it soundbitey. Yeah.
Of course.
So for me, someone that's like edgy with it. So when someone says like a Chelsea boy, I said this on the podcast the other day, that it's like people will think he's wearing his striped sweater around his like shoulders, carrying his Oxford books up like that. No, like just like a Londoner that's like got a bit of swag, can articulate themselves nicely, a bit of a gentleman, like those things. But then they have to have a dry sense of humour because we will not get on if they can't take that. That was something Arthur was incredibly good at.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and also someone, you know, that has good values around like open communication, being able to have the challenging conversations before it becomes too late, because that's something that I really struggled with in my last marriage, is that by the time the open conversation, by the time it became clear there was something wrong, it was too late to fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You know? Types covered. I still don't know what my type is, really.
I do think it changes, right? I think it's so subjective. I think it changes to what you're looking for in your period of life.
Yeah, I really don't. I've never been able to sort of pinpoint a type of guy that I like. I mean, I can see them. Like, I can go, oh, he's fit. I mean, I say about everyone, don't I? I'm terrible. But the second I've had a conversation with them, I'm like, nah.
So who would you have liked from our cast, Adrian, to marry?
I think I'd have had a lot of fun with George, but I think I'd have shouted at him a lot.
Correct.
Like, told him off a lot. But
someone said something really funny earlier to me, is that Peggy's defused that bomb in a week. Such a quick turnaround with George. Like, he's now totally different. I'm not saying if that's right or like, do you know what I mean? But so I was like, that's really interesting. Yeah. So what, George?
I think that's who I would marry. I think
JJ.
Oh, he's fit.
I like him. Me and my mum were talking about it because I was like, this is the thing, like, you line up guys I've got with or whatever, they're so different. It is unbelievable. Like, it honestly just depends what headspace I'm in, and it's massively a personality thing, and also just an energy and a vibe. Like, they've got to have something about them. They have to. But I thought, I think that I liked him, but he's who I'd be drawn to normally, which is not necessarily good. I don't know, like, that's like that kind of like, he does kind of like events and club events and things like that, and he's kind of like that personality, and I feel like, I don't know, I liked him though. I really like Bianca as well, and I felt so awkward for that wedding day, because I don't know, maybe they are going to be a great match, and I really do hope that they are. I almost felt like theirs should be swapped, their matches, Erica and JJ and I've forgotten his name.
Jordan
and
Erica.
Bianca. But
Yeah.
I'm yet to see. But yeah, I think that JJ's got a lot of heat. But I quite liked him as a personality. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't think he did anything in an offensive way. I think that's also like, do you know what I mean?
I think it was the way it was depicted. I didn't like this narrative of like he usually goes for models and he's been matched with Bianca, and I thought, well, what the fuck is this about? Because she's, you know, a really attractive, you know, lovely girl. But it's like they almost created it before it even started. So I think he got a lot of heat for that. But I don't know. It was a very awkward wedding to watch. I just felt like I was like, I don't know.
Been a lot of that this season, hasn't there?
But we can confirm, Laura has confirmed for us, there is some fun and light on the way.
There really is.
A
So
little breather from the heavy, I think, would be great.
Is it struggling? Like, just quickly, are you guys like struggling to what, like, from a viewer's perspective who hasn't seen, obviously, behind the scenes? Are you struggling to?
No, I think it's great. But I just want a
break,
a light reliefs.
Yeah, my only one, the watching their wedding last night, I don't know why it just felt awkward because I felt for them both. I don't know, I just felt like it felt something inside of me, I think, because I've been through it. But yeah, apart from that, no, it's been up and down. It's been exciting to watch. Like, I am genuinely excited for like the next dinner party and stuff, which is nice that I'm not fucking in it and I can just watch it. But
you can watch the fashion. Like, the girls, really, they slay.
Yeah.
The dresses that are coming, oh my gosh, like, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this chat. And I think that we are wrapped up now because I've got to go and check out this hotel.
You do.
Thank you, Laura.
Go and die quietly somewhere else.
Thank you so much. So gorgeous to meet you. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.